Hello everyone. I am so glad to have you back here in my studio once again. I am coming to you on the most beautiful spring day. I'm so thrilled that the weather is finally changing over. I am like a summer girl to my heart, like to my core. I thrive on the sunshine. And in fact, I even stood out and just basked in it today while I was having to let my dogs in and out. So anyways, I am coming to you. If you don't know me, my name's Abby. I should maybe say that first, right? My name's Abby. I am coming to you from Virginia in my home studio where I make really fantastic paintings. I take what's in my imagination and I put it on a canvas. And I usually like to describe my work as fine art illustration. So if you are just now joining me, I'm so glad you're here. I made myself a cup of coffee. I have gotten into the habit lately of putting it in a travel mug because if you're anything like me, I'll come down here, I'll start working, and I immediately forget that I have a cup of coffee. So I'm gonna have a sip of that, and I would love for you to get a drink and join me as I do some chatting. Yeah, let's get into it. This week in my studio, or the last few weeks, have been really busy. I have been making lots of work. Can you see my dog? He is coming to the window to say hello. If you can't tell, I'm in a basement. And yeah, so that was a fun little visitor right there. Last few weeks in my studio have been super busy. I have been making lots of work, riding the creative wave, and having tons of fun. I am just now working on this painting, which I'm going to swivel it around and show you. It's like this bear on this couch, and he is so cute. Yeah, so I am a good portion into this. I'm thinking he'll be in a meadow, and so there'll be grass down here and some flowers, and it'll be very cute, very imaginative. I was on the fence about what I was going to do with this painting, and for a little bit I was do I want him in a house? But then I was no, that really plays into the feel if he's just in a meadow, because why? And I like that. I like when there's a little bit of why is that happening in my paintings. And let me put my coffee down. I worked on this painting a couple weeks ago. Really loved it. I loved how it turned out. I made a little story about it, about how friendship helps you fly, and he is just a very happy pig. Yeah. So one thing I always encourage artists to do is to take one thing you really like from your last painting and bring it into your current painting. And this thing right here, this moon, and I'm going to bring it in maybe a little closer to show you. Not great lighting at this angle, but this moon, oh, so good. I love it so much that I'm going to take this into another painting. In fact, I'm planning on taking that crescent moon into this painting that I have in progress. And it's a bear, a little circus bear. And I'm thinking that it'll be right here, kind of small, shrunk down. So I have been very clearly inspired by bears lately. Yeah, I have a friend working on a bear children's book. So I was taking a little bit of inspiration from that and making it into doing my own thing. So I like this vintage circus feel, so I'm really excited to get to the rest of this week, and I'm having just the best time painting. Another one I wanted to show you while I have you here. This is not screwed in, so I'm actually going to take the frame off of it. I made this little sleeping rabbit, and I wasn't sure if the rabbit had a bear or a puppy, but I went with puppy. So yeah, someone asked me the other day, do you ever have stinkers of paintings? Paintings that just do not work out. And the answer is yes, but I am I don't know, a dog on a trail, like a scent or something, because I have a very hard time giving up on a painting. Something would have to be going like super, super terribly wrong for me to like give up on a painting. Like for example, I had this bear like positioned totally differently. I had like his 2 feet coming out here, and I realized after I painted the entire bear that that was just like not working. It did not look good. It didn't feel good. So I wiped it out because this is oil, so it was still wet. I wiped it out and I painted a new leg. And then his arm was just kind of a little strange, so then I wiped that out and painted a different arm. So yeah, I do have things that go wrong in paintings. I just push through until I like them. Mostly because if I like something enough to start a painting, it's a good enough idea for me to see it through to the end. So that's just some thoughts on the painting process. And if you feel discouraged in the middle of a painting, I'd say let it rest for a few days and then come back to it, because you may have a totally different opinion about how you feel about your work after a good night's sleep, after a little distance. And sometimes it just takes like turning a painting around, literally turning it around, putting it against the wall, and kind of forgetting about it, and then coming in with fresh eyes weeks or months later. But one thing I always say is like, don't rip it up. Don't, you know, I don't know, don't burn it. Just let it sit and then come back to it. So I am going to finish this bear. I am going to finish the other bear, and then I have another painting on my mind that I am very excited about. And I know a lot of you would like to see me work, so I am going to stop the video here and paint some more on the bear and just bring you all along with me. And I hope that you enjoy that. I am so grateful and thankful for all of you joining me every time I post a video. It's just fantastic and I love it. It still is like totally mind-blowing that people like what I'm making as much as I like what I'm making. Yeah, so anyways, okay, let's get into finishing my bear, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye. So while I'm working on the top part of this painting, I wanted to mention one thing. I think it's really easy to think that you need to make every single part of your painting super detailed or crisp or whatever. But the fact is, you need to have places in your paintings where the viewer's eyes can rest. So I'm going to show you an example. So this painting right here is a great example. I wanted the focus to be on the cat, the girl, and the horse. And these are like supporting actors, okay? So while the face is like really detailed and sweetly painted, and I made sure to do the same with the horse and the cat, the birds are more gestural, okay? So I painted them with big brush strokes, and when you look at them, you know they're birds, but I didn't go into extreme detail because they were not the focus. They're supporting cast members. And same with the grass. So you can go in and paint every single blade, or you can indicate that this section is grass. So I do that with a lot of my paintings where I'll say, I want you to know that this is a field, but I don't want you to be looking super close at this. I want you to look at this. So let me show you one other example. A swan painting. I want you to realize that this swan carousel is in a field, but I don't want you to be looking at every individual blade of grass. And I want this to be indicated that it's blowing the wind, but I don't need to go into crazy detail because your mind, the human brain, is so smart that you don't have to give every single thing to the viewer. I want the focus to be right here. And so that's what happens whenever you kind of leave things to the imagination, but you just suggest them. So for my bear painting, I am indicating that this bear is sitting in a field. So I'm going to put a blue sky. Now in my other paintings, I'll do clouds, but this I want to be the main focus. I don't want a ton of stuff up here because my sky is so little. Now, if this painting was like tons bigger, I could put some clouds, I could put a moon, I could put a flying bird, but it would not be appropriate in this section because the sky is short. And if I put something here, people are going to look at this, but then they're going to look up here, and then their eyes are going to get taken out of the painting. So that's some thoughts on that. And now I'm going to indicate some grass, but because this is sitting on the grass, there's going to be an indication down here of a shadow. So let's keep painting and I'll show you what I mean when I'm done. Okay, so now at this point, I know that I want my sky to gradate a little bit. So that means I want it to go from like a light blue at the top down to a little bit darker of a blue. So I have this main base color for my sky that I mixed up. You saw me mix it up. I actually mixed it up a few times because I didn't have enough the first go around. So I'm just going to make the base color a little bit darker and then take it down into here. Now I'm going to stop around here because this is where my grass is going to start. So let's do that part next. Looking over my little palette here. Now this is cobalt blue, and this color will take me close to a little bit darker of a blue. And the thing about mixing paint is sometimes you mix too much, sometimes you don't mix enough. And I would say that this time around, I mixed too much, but that's okay. So now with my darker blue, I'm just going to fade this in just a little bit, but with oil, it's just wonderful because it just naturally, easily blends in. If you've never painted in oil, I really highly suggest it. It is so beautiful. Now, you may not be able to see through the camera, but I can see that there is a absolute shift in color between here and here, and it's lovely. So I'm going to do the same to this side and then get the grass in. Now, if you were smart, you would be wearing a bib. And I do have one, so I should have put it on, but I already have a little bit of paint on my shirt. So I'm going to finish my painting and then I'll wash my sweater in my sink right here. So that'll be really good. Now, I will say one thing. I am never striving for perfection in any of my works. So I am okay with things being a little wonky and a little bit loose and whimsical, and I really lean into that. So if you see one of my works in person, I think that you would really like it because there is so much going on that you really can't see through a screen. For example, like my underpainting shows through in places. The paint that I use to draw the image initially shows through. Anyways, free yourself from perfection because we just can't do it. And why would we want to when we can have this much fun? So for the green that I love, I always kind of mix the same green. It's kind of like once you learn what you like, you kind of reach for it over and over. I actually don't know if that's black, so I'm going to pull out my black. Chromatic black. I actually don't think this is a black I usually buy, but you know what? That's all right. And then I take black and yellow, and I don't actually have very much yellow on my palette right now, so I'll also refill that. I'll just put some there and mix it up. Now, one thing I really love about oils is that, you know, if I mix a color and I just don't use it, I can script this and put it right here and I can use it eventually. So yes, isn't that crazy? Yellow and black make green. What's the science to that? Well, there is blue pigment in black. yeah, you're going to find that this is like the most beautiful green ever. All right, so then with this dark green, I'm going to make a shadow under my couch. I just want to make people look at a painting and feel something. So I don't have to tell you what to feel. I just want you to look at it and feel joy. I want you to feel excitement. I want you to feel like a peace. Yeah, so I think about how people feel a lot when it comes to my work. And, you know, and it doesn't have to be this big emotional response. I'm okay with someone just looking at something and saying, well, I just like that. Because mostly I look at my work and I say, I just like it. It doesn't really have a deep meaning. I just like the way all of these things go together. So now that the dark grass is in, I'm going to go in with my light grass color. And let's get some indication of tall grass. Now, so I didn't bring my clouds all the way down because I wanted to indicate that the grass is going up high. So because oil, like when you kind of fiddle with mixing colors together on the canvas, it looks a little bit muddy. So I try to be very mindful of that. If I know like, oh, I want my grass to come up higher, I'll stop doing something like painting the sky, and then I will come back to it after I get my grass in so I can have a little bit cleaner of a look. So this is where I'm ending it for the night. I indicated some flowers. I'm going to let this sit and think about it a little bit and then come back to it. So thanks for joining me this week. I hope you liked seeing a little bit of the behind the scenes of my painting process and how I think through certain aspects of the painting. I had a great time. I have paint all over my hands and my sweater, but you know what? That means like it was a great day in my studio. So I'm going to clean my brushes and I'm going to put a pin in this painting until tomorrow and live with it for, 24 or 48 hours and see how I feel about it. And then I may call it finished or I may add a little bit more, but I am so excited about this painting. I really, really love, love, love this concept of a couch in a meadow. So anyways, thanks for coming and joining me. If you liked this type of video, would you let me know down below? I feel like I say this every single time, but I am still just like figuring it out. So if this is like the kind of content you would like from me, let me know. Or if you would like something different, altogether different, that's okay as well. And I will take all of your suggestions. So thanks so much for coming and joining me. I will see you in the next one. Bye guys.